and Jeff McLane. Jeff, good morning.
Hey, guys. Morning.
It is mandatory minicamp. We have one left before training camp, Jeff. And so I'll just ask you, what are you looking for here in mandatory minicamps?
Yeah, one and only. Used to be 3-day minicamp.
Sure.
But, they decided to have one. I mean, it's probably just going to be an extension of what we've seen from at least the two open practices that we had at OTAs. I can't imagine they're going to do anything any more intense. Yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of, maybe they'll do a little more in team drills, maybe. I don't know. They'll still be practicing in shirts and shells, and so I wouldn't expect anything grandiose to happen at today's practice.
Is it like implementation of, the people getting comfortable with the playbook, people getting comfortable with schematic plans? I mean, what really goes on when we're talking about the second week of June?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's it, right? You have new players, whether drafted, free agency. Some of that will happen in the classroom. Some of that will happen on the field in terms of learning the playbook. Obviously, there's going to be new plays that are going to be installed. Real honestly, they're not doing much of that. It's going to be very vanilla in terms of what they're doing out there on the field. They don't really start getting into that stuff until training camp. And really, honestly, a lot of it doesn't even happen until after they're no longer around there in terms of what the offense is really going to look like, because they don't want to give too much away. But, obviously there's position battles. So, I mean, they're always evaluating, right? And this year, there's probably a little more than there have been in the last few years, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We don't know who the safety is going to be. We don't know who the cornerback is going to be. We don't know who one of the inside linebackers is going to be. That's all part of the process in terms of the Eagles when they're looking at who's going to end up winning those positions.
Could the cornerback be somebody that's not on the roster? Packers released Jair Alexander yesterday. Obviously, Eagles fans, ourselves included, start taking an eye on that. Any interest from the Eagles there, do you think, Jeff?
I mean, they have interest in anybody, right? Especially someone who's got a proven track record. So, I'm sure they'll look into it. I imagine he's going to probably get some pretty good coin, even at this stage of his career. So, I don't know. They went and gotten Dory Jackson, and, they have obviously Keely Ringo waiting kind of in the barn, someone that they've drafted and want to develop, and and that's kind of what a lot of this offseason has been about in terms of why they didn't really go out and spend a lot of money in free agency, because they have guys that they've drafted. They're going to have to pay at some point, so I mean, probably more likely than not, but obviously you can't rule anything out.
When you think of that market, how much do you believe they've already said everything that they've done has been done to make sure Jalen Carter and others in the future are all open to be covered and they can get those things done?
Yeah, I mean, that was Howie's explanation. I mean, and free agency when he spoke at the owners' meetings, they're going to have to pay. Jalen Carter's going to get probably the highest contract, maybe even for a defensive player ever, when he gets one, probably next offseason, depending upon obviously how this year goes. So, and Nolan Smith's going to have to get paid at some point. So they have guys that they have to dig deep into the bank for in the future, and that's been the explanation. And look, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised though to see Howie at some point make some sort of move coming here. The one position I think probably most likely needs to be addressed, and we haven't really talked about, is edge rusher. Jelix Hunt and Nolan are probably going to be the top two guys, and they really like them. And they went out and got, they spent a little bit on Aziz Ujulari and Josh Uche. But I would say that the depth there is probably not as great as it has been in the past. Sort of, Josh Sweat left in free agency, Brandon Graham retired, and obviously they just traded Bryce Huff. I know Huff didn't give him much, but that's a body, and that was something that they hoped would have contributed more. So, look, I'm not ruling out Howie doing something. Maybe it's safety as well. Who knows? Obviously, there's a lot of guys competing for that spot as well. But cornerback, we'll see. We'll see how things play out. I think they want to see how these guys do that they brought in, and especially when training camp comes up in a couple months.
Speaking of safety and contracts and not spending money, really much big money this offseason, have you done any more digging on this Chauncey Gardner-Johnson situation? Vic Fangio, obviously, when he spoke last, was asked about the trade of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and he said it was all because of the contract. It was cap-related. He was fine with it. Then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson took to social media. He recently did a radio interview where he talked about how that's not true. So which side of the story do you sort of believe more here, Jeff?
It's a combination of things, and I think I've reported a little bit on this before. Look, Howie had to do what he had, what he felt was necessary when it came to, unloading. His salary was going up. It wasn't crazy for a starting safety of his caliber. So, I think the money was part of it. Another part of it is just, this is what Chauncey's fifth team in his last 5 years. I don't think he's a major problem, but he does require additional kind of work internally, just by his very nature. And I'm not saying, that's always a horrible thing, and he isn't the only player like that. But, there's a price sometimes you pay for those guys, and they deemed him not worthy of that. Now, as I reported back in late March, early April at the owners' meetings, this was a decision that, not everybody 100% was on board with in the building. They thought, that Chauncey obviously brought a certain swagger to the team, but, some of it was also performance as well, right? If you look at what he did out there in the field, inside the red zone, numbers weren't always great. Open field tackling wasn't always great. And, while he did, interceptions, look, those are important plays. But some of them came when he wasn't playing within the scheme. And those are the ones you see. Sometimes we don't see or know when he isn't technically playing the way he should be, and something goes wrong. So there's that element to it as well. I think it was a combination of everything. It's hard to say everything definitively was one thing or the other. We don't necessarily live in that type of world, and I think that applies here as well to why the Eagles decided to move on from Chauncey.
Jeff, listen, man,
Thank you so much for being a part of our journey on a daily basis, watching here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate you doing that because it makes our jobs a lot better when the bosses are happy. So thank you very much, and keep on watching.